Good morning, everybody. Stu Smith here, going live. Hope you guys are well today. Welcome, Tuesday morning show. That means we are doing some live Q&A as well as some CSS critiques. And when you guys hop on, I'll start showing videos. But until then, I have a question for you. What do you do to test mental toughness? And I'm just curious. Not only am I looking for ideas, but I'm also just curious what people do to make themselves tougher. You know, my answer to building mental toughness comes in a scoop at a time. Like you don't just become mentally tough because you watch an inspiring movie or see a poster. Um, it comes through daily, consistent action. Somebody just said, Braden says, gut checks. Gut checks are good, but, how often? What do you do? What do you mean by gut checks? I mean, somebody's gut check might be somebody else's warm up to a workout. So, do your least favorite thing first. I like that one. That's a good one. Something we do is I will tell you this, early morning workouts, even though they become habitual, and I've been doing them for 43 years now. Um, there's nothing quite like that moment when your alarm goes off and it's 5:15 usually for me, and I am getting up to get moving and start a morning workout. I don't know what it is, but I am always at my most comfortable and most sound asleep, usually when that alarm goes off. And I just wake up and think, oh man, this is really comfortable. Do I really want to get up and go do this? Obviously, I get up and go do it because I'm pretty consistent with that morning workout routine, and I know, having stayed in bed and skipped workouts, I never feel good after doing it, not only physically, but also mentally, performance wise at work. Just never felt, um, feel a little guilty. Don't quite have my normal performance level. Like right now, after a morning workout, I am really focused on getting work done. I write an article this morning, do this live podcast, do some newsletters get sent out, working on a new project. So just curious, what are you guys putting yourself through to make yourself a little tougher? Because I will tell you, there's a fine line between mental toughness and stupidity. And my answer to that is if you're in training for something hard and you're testing your mental toughness, then you get injured and you can't train for 3 or 4 months because of that injury. That's stupid, right? So you've gone past that, the point where it's actually beneficial to you and you just hurt yourself. And I make this, every time I have a group of guys wanting to go do a 50 miler or a 100 miler, I'm like, make sure you are progressing and preparing yourself for these runs properly with a good foundation going in, because I will tell you this, I'm going to run 25 miles this week and the next weeks thereafter. It's kind of like my little standard, 25 miles, 25 miles. I just like doing it. I'm glad I can do it without being injured. It's kind of like my go to thing I do year round. But I will say this, um, I've seen countless people go do these races, come back, foot hurts, shins hurt, knee hurts, hips hurt, and at the end of the month, they may have run 50 miles or 100 miles, but at the end of the month, I have also run 100 miles. So I usually play around with them. I say, let's see who runs more in 4 to 5 weeks. And 9 times out of 10, I have run more than they did in that 5 week period. So not that that really matters, but it's it's just something to show them that they've missed out on a month worth of training just because they decided to go do this challenge. And yes, is there a moment in that 50-mile or 100-mile race where you have to dig deep and push yourself and go past your limits? I'm all for that. I think that's great. Um, but when it comes with an injury, you're jacking yourself up, especially if you have a selection 6 months later or something like that. So let's see. Let's get some answers here because I'm just curious what you guys are doing. I like the doing my least favorite thing first because that's like I'm focused on doing this. It's my weakness. It's the least thing, thing I like the most. I'm getting it done. I think that's awesome. Um, Putting yourself through situations that you know you'll probably end in failure, but understand the experience if overcome can be lasting effect on one's mental fortitude. I'm all for that as well. I mean, it can be just public speaking. A lot of people hate public speaking and fear public speaking. Doing things you fear, I think, is a really good one. I've seen a lot of people who were really nervous and scared about jumping out of airplanes, and they do that, or they scuba diving even, night scuba diving. Yeah, I think those are really easy ways, I should say, to test your toughness and mental, just doing hard things that scare you. And now they're no longer a fear. You gain a little more confidence out of it. You may not like doing them. I will tell you this: I feared jumping out of planes when we first jumped out of planes, and then 50 jumps later, I was cool with it. But I will say it was not something I wanted to do as a hobby. Scuba diving was something I wanted to do as a hobby. That was fun, always fun. So just depends on what you like doing. Quick question: if a supplement says 30 servings and in the back it says 5 grams per serving, would you run out in 6 days or 30 days? Dude, man, test it. Let's see. I would think you would run out in 30 days, right? Because you have servings for you're doing it once a day for 30 days. That's 30 servings. You're not counting grams, you're counting servings. Come on, man. What kind of question is that? All right, Joe says the Federal Tactical Selection, HRT, BORTAC, Homeland. For how long should we run the tactical seasonal periodization before transitioning to the SWAT program? Thanks. Tied to above, for those units, they typically have a lot of combatives fighting in their processes. Would you balance MMA in the training? Yes. How would you? I'll tell you in a second. Final question. I remember you and Jeff mentioning you guys visiting BORTAC headquarters. You said, guys, you said it was awesome. Wondering if you could elaborate. For mental toughness, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, boxing suck, but it helps develop mental toughness. Absolutely. Any combatives is a mental toughness challenge, I think. Forcing yourself to fight is the worst. I would agree. Fighting takes a little toughness. And you eventually become more confident with it, then it's not so tough. But regardless, it's tough on you physically. It may not be tough on you mentally anymore. But knowing you're about to get hit in the face, not necessarily a fun thing to do, but it's a fun challenge to try to avoid that. So it's got a good yin and yang to it. Um, I will say this about um, I would say I like the SWAT program for those federal law enforcement programs, especially when there's lot of running and rucking, um, calisthenics type part of their training that will help you with that, because that advanced section of the SWAT workout is kind of geared for that. Not any swimming in it, but it's running. But I will say the tactical seasonal periodization models, like this is it's got a lot in it too, especially volume in the summer. The spring summer is a great one for land selections, because there's just a lot of running and rucking, and you can replace some runs with a longer ruck. You can, some of those rucks you can carry, um, water bottles, water jugs with, to test your grip. Some load bearing stuff is all in there. And if you don't need to swim, you can replace that swim. My advice is this: on leg days, replace the swim with fins with rucking, so you get a little extra ruck in there. And then on upper body days, replace the conditioning swim with more cardio. And that doesn't have to be all doesn't have to be all impact. You can do like a brick workout. Say you get 20 minutes of a hard bike and 20 minutes of a hard run, and you got yourself 40 minutes of cardio with half the impact. You can also shift the intensity a little bit and just do a zone 2 cardio run if you want, or a cardio bike if you want to do that. So there's a lot of ways you can play around with that seasonal periodization model to make it work for whatever program you're getting ready for. Um, and then usually when a lot of my guys that like doing combatives, they will mix in the combatives a couple times a week, 2 to 3 times a week. A lot of them will drop the swim and go do combatives, still do the workout. Depending on where they are on their fitness levels, some of them will take that morning off to do combatives in the afternoon or early evening, and then um, go do the calisthenics, cardio, lifting, whatever they want after the combatives. I've seen that work really well, especially if you want to be ready for your combatives and really work on a hard day. But you can do it another way: is do your workouts like you normally would in the morning, do your combatives in the afternoon, but make your combatives more of a technique day than a sparring day where you're really burning the candle at both ends on that one. So that's something we do a lot, especially in the pool, because if you think about it, the pool can be a combative area because you're fighting the water, right? So we will do a technique day in the afternoon, um, that just focuses on good technique, streamlining, some mobility work in there, so you get a better streamline, you get a better kick. So you can play around with the combatives depending on the intensity. If you're going hardcore, maybe take that morning off. Maybe just do some cardio or something. Save your arms, save your legs. If you're not going hardcore, you need to work on some moves or just regular technique on some stuff. Get good with the basics. Go hardcore in the morning. Work on your technique in the afternoon. That's how we do it here. And Joe mentions Jeff and I went to the BORTAC headquarters. I have not been to the BORTAC headquarters. Jeff and I had a call with some BORTAC instructors, and then we had a podcast with it, depending on what they were doing. And one of the things that BORTAC had is they really ramp up the rucking quickly. So if you're not used to rucking a lot, 20, 30, 40 miles, in a week is what that, uh, selection is doing. Um, you need to prepare yourself for that kind of mileage. So there's a mix of running, rucking, and lifting just to be a little more durable, working that grip with the, carrying water jugs, um, very much needed. So anyway, they are very professional, and we were able to give some advice for them, but it really comes down to the preparation the before the training that is up to the students versus the actual instruction itself. Now, maybe they can have a preparation process for them where they can ramp up logically, have a program for candidates who want to do that. That was some of our pieces of advice. But, any of these hard selections, there's nothing in them that's going to prepare you for them, right? All your preparation happens before. That's why I do what I do, right? Because I see a need that people need to understand the type of fitness that is needed. And fortunately, if you're an 18-year-old kid and all you've really done is take 2 months and prepare for high school football season, or 2 months before you start doing lacrosse season, it's not the same thing. You can't just take 2 months and prepare for spec ops jobs. Now, I will say asterisk, I have seen people do that, but they were multi-sport athletes, good at everything when they even started, no weaknesses, could run, could ruck, could swim, could lift, could PT, did all that stuff mainly because they just had a good balance of athletics in their life and were just tough on top of it, and were able to get out of here in a couple of months. Whereas some people I've seen take over a year to really get good at everything and not have those weaknesses, um, that a lot of people have when they go into these trainings. So another reason why I ask, this question at the beginning about mental toughness is, what are you doing? Is because one of the best ways I think to build mental toughness is to focus on that weakness. Like someone said earlier, start on what you don't like first. That's the first thing you do. Um, Another one from Barracuda Recruiting says it's self accountability and taking on things that I don't want to do. I like this one. Then once it's complete, acknowledge it and have a self talk or talk to a teammate about it. There are daily mental toughening. Yeah, yeah, I would agree. You can do this daily, exactly, and that's the way I think the best way to do it is a scoop at a time, just adding in something hard. It doesn't have to be, this big event that takes 10 hours to complete. Just increasing the intensity of a workout can have mental toughness applications towards the end of that workout when you're really starting to get low energy. And I'm not talking like low blood sugar energy, but you just can't move anymore. But then, you find the fuel when the tank is empty. Um, that's a neat moment when you can just push through it and almost get that second wind, if you will. Let's see here. Do 1 rep, low rep, heavy pull downs, and curls help with the number of max pull ups you can do? Um, I would say yes if your problem is a strength issue, right? So if you're trying to get your first one, it's a strength exercise. If you're trying to get your 20th pull up, it's an endurance exercise, muscle stamina exercise. So higher volume works better in that situation. Though I will say this, sometimes we'll put on like a 25-pound weight vest just to make pull-ups a little harder while we get some of this volume um, increased. And then we take the weight vest off and they see, oh, okay, now I'm feel lighter, I'm going lighter. And, usually with some recovery time in between that, they can hit better pull-ups on the back end. So It kind of depends on what you're trying to do. But yeah, your first one's a strength exercise. Your 20th one is a stamina exercise. And you got to push the volume to get better at that. Um, let's see. We got a lot of questions today. I'm going to answer these and then I'll show the CSS critiques in a few minutes. How much mileage running rucking should I build up for my marathon ruck? Good question. If you look up if you look up any marathon running program, you're probably not going to see anybody running over the distance of a marathon in it. Now they build up to like a 20 miler. If you maybe a month before it and then kind of taper it down a little bit before the event. But that's how I would do it. You know, and here's how I would do the rucking is, get on a good marathon training program. There's countless out there. See one that interests you, maybe with your level that starts off, and each one's going to probably progress 10 to 15% each week till it hits like 20-mile run on a weekend, probably hitting 40, maybe 50 miles a week total. Some don't have that much. Some maybe have only 30 miles a week in it. So find one that fits for your ability, and then replace the long runs with a ruck on it. You might want to start off with, if you're just new to rucking, start with the short runs with a ruck, and then progressively throughout it, increase your rucking as you would increase your running that day. That'd be how we do it. All right, let's see what we got. I got a couple more questions over here. Do you think CrossFit training to prepare for buds? What do I think of it? I've written about it. In fact, you can Google CrossFit special ops, CrossFit Stu Smith special ops on the Google machine. And I think I wrote this on military.com. So let me put in military.com because I think that's what. Does CrossFit have a place in special ops training? Is the name of this article. Check it out and you will see. I'll put it in the comment section over here on Instagram. Put it over here on Instagram and YouTube. So here's the deal. My short answer to that question is, I don't have a problem with it, but you need to do a lot more than just CrossFit. In fact, I tell people let CrossFit be your warm up, then actually do a buds prep workout, if that makes sense. But it has to make sense. Like you can't just go crank out some deadlifts super heavy and then go running to try to get your mile and a half faster. Probably not going to match very well. One, you probably won't get stronger. Two, you probably won't get faster if you're mixing those two together. So we kind of go in different cycles like that. You can lift and maintain some strength while you're getting faster, but there's some things I've just seen over the years that lead me to tend to focus. If you want to get better at calisthenics and cardio, focus on your calisthenics and cardio. You can maintain some strength, but don't set crazy goals on your strength training during that cycle. Then flip it. You want to get stronger, work on your weight training and get stronger. Maintain your calisthenics and cardio while you're doing strength training. And that's kind of what we're doing over the winter, focusing on strength training, muscle building, hypertrophy, getting a little bit bigger, gaining some weight, getting a little more durable, but we're maintaining our calisthenics and cardio. So it's not the volume that you would normally have in a cals and cardio cycle, but that's how we do it. It's a way to train, not necessarily the only way to train. I don't claim to have the only way, but this is what we're doing this winter. We increase our strength, but we're also crushing the PST because they're still taking PSTs to get to where they want to go. I do the opposite sometimes, Garrett says. I like to do my least favorite and the hardest thing last. So during the whole workout, I have to compartmentalize and not focus on it until I have to do it. I think that's a great idea, too. You know, everybody has a different method of this. That's why I wanted to just kind of put it out there in the universe and see what you guys come up with, because I think these are all great ideas. You know, whatever you feel is making you tougher, it's probably working. And what I mean by that is, put it this way: we during the winter we work out outside. This winter has been particularly tough, and when I say tough, tough for Maryland. You know, having 18-degree mornings with some wind chill factor drops it down a little lower. I feel like every step I take outside, I am getting tougher. You know, that initial step to get out of my truck to go join the group, I feel like I just got a little tougher doing it, right? Because there's nothing quite like a nice heated truck bed whenever you are driving to a workout and you get out and you know you're about to be cold for the next hour and a half. Kind of sucks. But I do feel like that is a great way to get tougher every step, especially if you're running on the beach and the wind's whipping you and it's hard enough where the sand's picking up and slapping you in the face. That's so uncomfortable. So a great answer to getting tougher: push yourself in those comfort zones, beyond that comfort zone. Let's see. Seth has a series of questions here. I have 6 months before I start my journey towards 18 alpha. Okay, cool. I've been utilizing seasonal tactical fitness periodization for the past year. Oh, I'm excited to hear how you're doing with that. Recently purchased your Army SF. Would you suggest running through the 12-week plan twice for the next 3 months? With the first 3 months focusing on strength and eccentric movements? You know what? I would say hit that Ranger SF program your last, somewhere in your last 6 months. It can be last 3 months. It can be your last first part of your 3 months of a 6 month period. And then top it off. The last 3 months can be focusing really on what your weaknesses are. So if your weaknesses are speed and explosiveness, sure, add that in there. But you got to maintain that cardio. You got to maintain the rucking. You know, the cool thing about what you're going to be going through is you got a decent boot camp basic training that is not easy compared to like Air Force and Navy. Those guys have to work out extra just to kind of maintain what they have, because it's just a little bit too easy for a spec ops candidate. But for the Army and Marine Corps, it's a little bit different. You know, they actually do tough things. You know, they were rucking and they're running more and they're doing harder calisthenics. You know, it's just something, I mean, still maybe easy compared to a spec ops day, but it's nowhere near as easy as Air Force and Navy. Um, just the way it is. So you at least have that. Then you have infantry training. Then you're probably going to go through Ranger school at some point. Um, so all of those are probably along the pipeline for you as you prepare for this training. So yeah, keep doing it. I didn't know they had 18 alpha contracts. Isn't 18 alpha officer? I mean 18 X-ray? Is that what you're talking about? Yeah, it's the officer. So your pipeline's probably going to be 2 to 3 years once you're in the Army, in a infantry unit, that then you get permission to go over to the selection process. So you got time if you're 18 alpha. If you're 18 X-ray, it's a different story. I found that if I break things into tiny steps, I can do stuff I don't want to but need to do. Absolutely. Absolutely. You know, another thing I do is I make a list of everything I need to do. And you're right. I typically start off with the things I don't want to do first. Most days I will. Some days I'm like, you know what? I got to get this done. Something I know I can get done fast, get moving, and then I go to the other side. So it doesn't really matter how you do it as long as you just do it. And a lot of the common things I am seeing now is, with this question, is that people just get things done. Like you notice, like mental toughness isn't something you read about. It isn't something you talk about. It is something you do, period. Whatever it is, right? So just remember that as we move out of this discussion. Feel free to keep adding in what you want to do, what you do to get mentally tough. I always like to hear what you're doing. And just remember, there's a fine line between mental toughness and stupidity. All right, last question. Now I'm going to show some CSS videos. What time do you guys start in the morning? Any of your guys drive 45 minutes every morning to get to Annapolis? Yes, many people do. Um, you know, people from Virginia and DC area, you know, make that drive quite often. Some people move here from out of state just to live closer by and get a job and find a place to stay and train with us. So we start at 6 a.m. as a group training. Actual physical training starts at 6 a.m. Monday through Saturday. Somebody says, I have doubt about pyramid workout. For example, I want to focus on push ups. Can I do the pyramid only with push ups? And then could I do the rest of the time between sets? It's up to you, man. Try it. Try whatever way you want to try it and see if it works. That's the best answer you can have. But I will say this we usually do an active rest with the pyramid anyway. So my advice would be do your push ups and go run for a couple hundred meters or get on a bike for a minute. Do something, right? Rest with some abs, flutter kicks, sit ups, whatever. All right, let's see what we got here. Looks like we got a few more questions, but somebody real quickly asks, I'm 25. Is it too late to join the military? No. In fact, 25 is a great age to join, and you have a degree. You could go officer if you want, or you could enlist and do a cool job and then go officer later. It's up to you. All right. So let me go into sharing my screen. I got some videos I want to turn off some volume. All right, here we go. You guys should be able to see this. I'll make it a little bigger for you. Now you can really see it. All right, so what do we got here? We have a guy who, all right, didn't film his kickoff. So that's all right. Top arm, bottom arm, kick. Hold the glide. Top, bottom, kick. I would say this. If this is slow, which I think it is, if you notice, everything looks kind of slow motion, right? The top arm, the bottom arm, the kick. So everything's kind of lackadaisical. And what I mean by that is if you want to go faster, you have a good timing of everything, like your top arm, bottom arm, breathe, kick, all looks good. But if you want to go faster, you got to put more effort into that pull, into this kick. Pull harder, kick harder, glide tighter, like put your chin down a little more in that glide phase there. Yeah, this is just a little slow. I mean, you're probably a little over a minute doing this. If you want to be down to 50 seconds, that yard per second magic number, I think, that everybody can get to, you just got to pull harder, kick harder, glide faster. I would say this amount of effort in the CSS would be like walking when you want to, or maybe jogging when you want to be the type of effort that you're doing in a mile and a half timed run. if that makes sense. So pump up the intensity a little bit. Pull harder, kick harder, glide faster, top arm, bottom arm, kick, 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3. So you got the timing down, you're just moving slow. And that's just that quick answer is pull harder, kick harder. All right, let me show a couple more of these, and then um, we'll go into answering more questions. You guys got a lot of questions today. I appreciate it. All right, so this is a 50-second 50. Let me just show you the difference here, what this looks like. Top arm, bottom arm, kick. Ah, I see. Got a breaststroke kick with some flutter kicks. Take out those flutter kicks. You don't need them. Chances are they're not really helping you. Mississippi 2, Mississippi pull. You know what would help you? See those elbows? Make them touch your head. Like straighten out those arms. Look more like a torpedo than a plow. Top arm, bottom arm, kick. Yeah, I think your breaststroke is not that good. And then you feel like you need to do flutter kicks. And I will just tell you that, yes, while this 50 meters is 50 seconds or 50 yards is 50 seconds, it's just not, it's hard to sustain this amount of flutter kicking. And because you're adding, I mean, if you think about this, you're probably adding about 400, 500 flutter kicks to a 500-yard swim, but you're kicking a couple of times just about every yard or two. So I've counted 500 flutter kicks in some people doing a 500-yard swim, and guess what that affects? You know, it's a lot of hip flexor work, so your sit-ups are going to suffer, and it's a lot of running that's going to be affected. Your mile-and-a-half run's going to be affected by all this hip flexor burnout that you're doing, and you're sucking up a lot of glycogen too, which is your energy for all this. All right, so take out the flutter kicks and see how you do. I think you might find one, you can last faster. All right, let's see what we got on this one. I'll only show a couple more, and then I'll go back to questions. You guys got some good questions today, so we'll hit those. All right, see what we got. Kick off the wall, dolphin kick, double arm pull, boom, kick. Scissor kick's not that good. You see, you like go nowhere with this scissor kick. And that is why this is a minute and 10-second video. Top arm, bottom arm, kick. So you got to pull better with the freestyle catch, and you are a great candidate for the article called Fix My Kick, because that kick is not pushing water. Not sure why it's not. I can't really see. A little bit blurry video. But chances are it's just, you just got to push more water. I think it's too big of a kick on that top leg. That back leg may be okay, but the top leg, I think, is what's causing your problem. It's just stopping you when you bring it up so high. I'll try to show you a better kick, but if there's an article called CSS Help Fix My Kick. In fact, I'll put it in the comment section here for you guys. So check this out. Fix My Kick article, and with video, so you guys can see this. There you go. But yeah, fix the kick. All right, I'm going to stop sharing here. All right, let me get back to some questions. You guys have some really good questions today. I don't want to miss these because I do have to go in a little bit. Random side question. Do you have any recommendations for HM, ATF, or SMT pipeline? Well, yeah, I mean, those are great programs. You know, first of all, you're going to go to corpsman school. But before you go to boot camp, if you're trying to do like the special ops combat medic corpsman that goes into the Marine Corps and goes through recon training, you know, or go, you know, you're going to have to prepare for Marine Corps fitness tests and recon training if you're doing the SOIDC. If you're doing the diving, you're going to have to go through dive school. So the ATF, I guess they call it the advanced technical field, just means that you're going to go through a really good corpsman school, and then from there you may have options. Also, you might want to go Fleet Marine corpsman, work with the Marines. Um, there's dive medics. There's go through the dive medic process, become an independent duty corpsman. Go special ops independent duty corpsman. So cool thing about that is you should prepare for what you want to do. So most of those will require a PST, just like the one going for buds, which is a 500-yard swim, pull up, push up, sit ups, mile and a half run. That's you got to pass that. Do it well in order to go to dive school, in order to get these contracts to go SOIDC, and then you're going to need to start preparing for the recon screener, swimming with camis, treading water, um, Marine Corps obstacle courses, 3-mile runs, pull ups, all those tests that the Marines do. Then you're going to have to prepare for basic recon course. So my advice, if you want to go towards the SARC corpsman, used to be called SARC, now it's SOIDC, you're going to want to probably get one of the recon Marine Special Ops recon program I have, just to prepare for that. Otherwise, I would suggest just getting on the Navy PST Phase 1 program, and that at least cover you for all the options that you're going to want to do. But I think it's a great job, especially if you want to be a corpsman that does things in harder environments, meaning not in a hospital setting, but you're outside with the troops, working with infantry units in the Marine Corps or special ops units in the Marine Corps. Yeah, I think it's a great option. Dive units also. What rest time do you recommend between sets and workouts? It's up to you, my friend. Up to you. If you want a high intense workout, I would suggest minimal rest. If you really want to focus on your strength so you can recover, rest until your heart rates drop back down to normal, crank out the next set. So it's going to be different for everybody. Just depends on what your goals are. What do you recommend to get a better, stronger scissor kick? I just sent that article up there. You guys see that fix your kick? Check it out. I don't glide very long. Yep. Then you need to fix your kick. And your streamline. Could be your streamline problem too. So between streamlining and fix your kick, in fact, there's a great article called Streamline. Streamline fastest. All right. So faster swimming requires solid streamline position. Check this out. So it might help you with some of the mobility issues that people who don't have a good streamline need. Shoulder mobility is one of them to help you lock out that glide. I'm going for SMT and already have a chance to contract for that. Okay, cool. Good job. Do you have anything about SMT pipeline specifically? I do not. I am be honest with you. I will tell you that you're going to be more involved in the aviation side, but you still need to pass the PST, and you may also be may also have some swim training, significant swim training in there, like rescue swimmer type swim training. Uh, but I be honest with you, I don't really know enough about it. So, but regardless, that Navy PST is going to be your answer because you will have to take those regardless. All right, let's see. What else we got here? Looks like, hey, Mr. Smith, I heard that the average age range for people attending SFAS is late 20s to early 30s. I was wondering if this is true. Um, I would say the answer to that question is yes, but it's the average age range of people who make it through might be a better answer for that. 25 to probably early 30s is probably a better answer for that range. People tend to be a little more mature than your average 19, 20-year old, though there have been 18 x-rays that made it through at 19, 20. It's not common compared to the older candidate because they're looking for an older candidate, to be quite honest with you. More mature candidate, I should say. How you doing, Stu? I'm rated ABH and need to cross rate to another rate in order to get accepted for SEALs. Yeah, yeah. SEALs is its own rating. So you need to do, you need to go to the Navy SEAL website, the actual official SEAL website, and look at how to cross rate from there. There's a whole process of how to do it, and put in your PST scores and your letters of recommendation, or your, you got to fill out a chit that requires chain of command support. Your detailer, who is in charge of your rating, has to also want to let you go. And your year group needs to be empty in order for you to go to buds in that year group. So there's a lot of issues that are out of your control. So, yes, the answer is you need to cross rate if you're going to be an SO, because the rating for SEAL is SO. I've been swimming 1,800 meters 3 times a week, surfing a couple of days a week. Do you recommend more swimming for buds? Also, how should I program my swim days? Here's how we program our swim days. Workouts like this, when we're crushing the PST or our Navy SEAL workouts, we are actually swimming with fins on leg days. So days that we do legs, we're swimming with fins. So if 1 or 2 of those swims a week is with fins, great. If not, add them, right? Surfing's fun, but there's no surfing at buds. So you might want to take a day to maybe swim with fins instead of surf. Go out in the open water, swim with fins, right? You may even enjoy it. Do some body surfing, do some, surf passages back and forth through the surf. And because you will do that as a first phase guy. Not that that's hard, but it's when the waves are big, it's challenging. But anyway, that's how we do it. We swim about 5 days a week, sometimes 6. And depending on the week, usually we do 2 leg days a week and 2 swims with fins a week on those days. And the upper body days, we are doing conditioning drills for, just swimming in general, like 50-50s and freestyle CSS mixes, just to work the heart and lungs a little more. Sometimes we'll throw some swim PT in there, every 100 yards, hop out, do push-ups and flutter kicks. But then we'll also do a day where it's all pool skills. So we'll tread water, we'll do the drown proofing drills, all that stuff. And that's part of these programs. That's what the programs that get you. Things that handle everything. You don't have to think about it. CSS times 830. That's great. You don't need to get any faster than that. My advice would be try to get your swim with fins, your 2-mile swim with fins, big scuba fins, down to 70 minutes. That's a solid time. That'll put you in the top 10, 15% of your class when you're swimming. Any way to practice those ocean rock climbs with the boats on land or in the pool? No. First time we ever did it was at Bud's, and there's plenty of practice there. I wouldn't I wouldn't worry about that one. Having trouble with buoyancy during swims, any recommendations on how to train for this? Relaxation techniques, dead man floats? Huh. Well, it depends. I mean, maybe I don't know, maybe you feel better with a wetsuit on. Probably would have more buoyancy with that. If you're really lean, maybe put on a little bit of extra weight, to float a little. Um, but it could just be, if you kick really well, that'll keep you up to the top, little flutter kicks. If you're doing freestyle, CSS, a little bit different. I don't know what you're training for. But yeah, buoyancy is usually an issue that can be fixed with uh, a wetsuit or can be fixed with putting on a little bit of mass. Not saying get fat or anything, but just don't be super lean because you're going to need a little protection from the cold anyway. If you're swimming open water in your future. But yeah, practice dead man floats. That's something. Morning, sir. Could you share some leadership advice for someone going into the SO pipeline as a second class? Yeah, I will tell you this. You're probably going to be an LPO, which I will tell you is a great position. Now, it also sucks because you got to deal with everybody in the class. It's going to really suck to and through Hell Week. After Hell Week, it's going to be so much easier because it really is your and the officers in the class job to keep track of everybody in the class, and you got 120 people starting, maybe more these days. um, and people are leaving every day. People are getting kicked out, people are quitting, and you just got to keep track of that head count and numbers. um, which that's probably the one of the hard things. And then the daily grind of it all is just getting everybody with the right gear to the right place at the right time, right? And that is a lot of your communication with the class and just being a good communicator, making sure people are double checking themselves. Like you can't go to every single person's backpack and make sure they have everything they need, right? You need to put it on them and their roommates or their boat crew to check. Boat crew leaders can check everybody's boat crews and can give you the thumbs up on if they have everything or not. Um, because that's important, and maybe even have maybe somebody that um, has forgotten something in the past. They now carry the extra gear backpack also to events, and you can make them do this. And it doesn't have to be a whole lot. It's not super heavy. It's just like an extra pair of fins, extra pair of booties, a belt, a knife, a mask, just in case somebody forgets something, right? And you never know. It may come in handy and save the day, and you look like a genius for having it, having a backup plan for when people screw up and miss something. So little things like that, I would say it's more of it's a logistical issue than anything else. And then as a leader of your class, I think one of the biggest failures of leadership is to not recognize potential in people. And a lot of people, you have bad days at Buds. Everybody does. And if that person is getting beat down by the class because of it, I see that being, just just bad for the class overall, because it's really not your job to say who's going to be a good SEAL or not. If someone has a bad day, my advice is have a little talk with them, say, hey, you got to fix this, or it's going to come down on everybody again. You screw this up and we're paying the price. You know, you have to be able to see if that person can rally behind that advice and come back stronger the next day. A lot will do that. You're not dealing with average people that go through this training, but sometimes it won't work out and they come back weaker, and usually instructors will handle it from there. But it's not your job to make people quit or tell them they should quit, right? That's unfortunately sometimes that happens. Hope that helps you, but good luck. I will tell you this. I found that I was a class leader in third phase, boat crew leader, and I never really worried about myself going through buds. I was always worried about everybody else around me. So that, in a way, was quite helpful. Yeah, it was added a little stress to your day, but I was so worried about everybody else and where we needed to be next and what we needed to have versus like the suck factor that I was having to endure. So, I think it has its pros and cons. That's one of the pros to it. Do younger guys do as well at RASP on average? Younger as in 18, 19, 20? I think so. I don't know the stats exactly, but um, here's the deal. No matter what age you are, you need to prepare the specifics of that selection. And unfortunately, a lot of the immaturity that comes with being a teenager, they will say, "Oh, I'm ready. I'm ready to go." And they don't even know what ready is, right? They think because they finished high school football and also wrestled that they're ready for anything. And, yeah, while they have some athletic history that gives them some strengths and weaknesses, they may not be specifically ready for what a spec ops selection is. And a lot of that comes with maturity and understanding that, hey, I might be a good football player, but I'm not in military fitness shape. And let me tell you this, I'm telling you this from experience because I was 18 years old and I went to the Naval Academy. I didn't even go to a selection at 18 years old. I got my ass kicked at the Naval Academy, which is nowhere near the level of fitness that's going to be required from any of these selections, right? Because I thought I was a football player and I was going to be ready for anything. Mile and a half about kicked my ass. Sit ups, I failed, right? Because I thought sit ups were easy. That was stupid. That was an 18-year-old brain thinking they were ready for anything. So, anyway, I speak to you with experience personally, and I've seen it countless times. Just saw it this week, actually. 18-year-old kid comes in and doesn't know anything about the job that he just signed up for. Thinks he's going to go be, recon corpsman and, can't even do pull ups. So it's got a long road. Ever heard about people kicking a teammate out of the boat? Yes, unfortunately, it happens, and I hate it because they didn't like them performing, whatever. Would it be possible to move to a new crew, or are you SOL? Um, I have seen people turn that around real quick by actually not allowing it to happen to them. I mean by that is saying you're not kicking me out of this effing boat, right? And then like start fighting, right? This is my dream. You're not going to crush my dream, okay? I might be sick today, but you're not going to get me kicked out. I'm going to suck it up and get through this, right? They tend to have appreciation for that, believe it or not, and they'll say, "All right, get tougher," and the way we did it back in my day, it was a little bit different. I don't think we were kicking people out of the boats. In fact, I don't remember any stories like that going on. Um, is at the end of the day, I grabbed the kid that was ducking boat and just said, "Hey, you about killed us today, right? You're hurting everybody in the boat. We'll move you to an easier position if we need to. We'll rotate that number 2 spot, whatever we need to do, but you got to come back harder tomorrow because if you don't, the instructors are going to hear us yelling at you to get tougher, and they're going to take it in their charge to really make your day miserable, right? And I don't think you want that to happen. So that's how you do it, I think, versus tripping somebody and getting them hurt and making them do that, which is just a horrible story. It's not the norm. Let me just put it that way. There's some toxic shit that happens under there sometimes. So there used to be an old saying, the team is made or broken under the boat and the log. So when you guys are working together, it's awesome. You're winning races, it's awesome. When you're losing stuff, it sucks and it gets chirpy under there. And you got to be able to handle that feedback from your peers, but also, you know, work to not let it happen again if that's you that's being chirped at. That makes sense. All right. All right, last question. I need to go. Sorry. Can you prevent chafing in the thighs at buds, or is there no way around it? And just grit through your teeth. I tell you what, man, I tried everything I could to prevent chafing at buds, but I had hand-sized prints of chafing on the inside of my legs, and it was brutal. Luckily, I never saw it. I just knew it was kind of stinging me a little bit because whenever I took my pants off at the end of Hell Week, um, I was like mortified by the layer of skin that was missing and sand that was caught up in it and started to scab. Then I had to take like this hour and a half bath just to get it out of me. It was brutal. Um, and we did things like, we had biker shorts and we had um, all types of little things that I just couldn't figure out how to do it. I think everybody's a little bit different because some people didn't have any chafing at all. I just had big legs and I think they just rubbed together. All right, couple more questions. Looks like is with extensive physical training, is can 18, 19-year-olds make it through? Oh, absolutely. There are 18, 19-year-olds making it through SEAL training every class, but the statistics behind an 18, 19-year-old making it is very slim. What I mean by that is your class is going to start with a bunch of 18 and 19-year-olds that come up right after boot camp, right out of high school, and minimal preparation. However, I will say my buds class, we had a 18-year-old kid that was the honor man. This couple recent buds classes, 18-year-old, 19-year-old kid was the honor man. So it happens. Guys can be very tough at that age, but it's usually a remarkable person, right? And I mean, I just have great stories about the 18, 19-year-old honor men, what they became. Um, is they were Renaissance men, just really just exceptional. Um, what is a great starting physical program to prep for selection? Starting meaning like you're kind of a beginner. My advice would be start on something and be consistent with it, whatever that is. It can be a lift cycle, it can be a cows and cardio cycle. In fact, where I send a lot of people for starters, if they have time, is the calisthenics and cardio workout program because that has a beginner, intermediate, advanced. It progresses pretty nicely um, throughout each phase. And it's a good way to get like 16 weeks, I think, under your belt of preparing logically for this programs, then after that, you can reassess and figure out where you need to go next. Do you need to go with like a lift cycle and you're still focusing on fitness tests, or are you wanting to do more like the seasonal? If you have a year, do you want to do the seasonal tactical fitness periodization cycle where you work on all the elements of fitness spread throughout the year in a primary, secondary goal? Um, like like the spring one we're about to get into right now, spring calisthenics and cardio with running progression. That's what we're doing next week. So there's a lot of answers for you, but I would say a beginner program that I have seen people do really well on, and by the end of it, they were really doing excellent on the PST because it is like a stepping stone to the PST. Are you at max heart rate during entire Lampo? No, you're just under strain and under a load. So you're kind of engaging the core system and the neck to stay sturdy. And it just becomes, I guess, tiring on the nervous system versus the anaerobic system, if that makes sense. Is making it through buds at 17 realistic? It's not realistic. It's usually a pipe dream, statistically speaking. But have 17-year-olds made it? Yes. Is it often? No. In fact, I can probably think of, a few handfuls of people that have done it in the last 20 years. I could be wrong, obviously, because I don't have all the statistics, but it's pretty rare. Maybe one a class, you know. Are most candidates prior college athletes these days? No, some are, not all of them. I think it helps to have uh, either done work or college for 4 years after high school before going. I went to Buds at 22 and I was a different person compared to 18. Put it that way. All right, guys. I'm sorry. I need to go. It's been over an hour. Thanks for your time. If you guys haven't checked out stewsmithfitness.com, check it out. Tons of articles over there that can help you. You can also use the Google search and ask the question, put my name in it. I probably answered it. I've been writing articles 3 times a week for over 25 years. So I have a lot of articles out there on of the same topics that people ask every year. But if I missed your question, I apologize. Email me that question, stew@stewsmith.com. I will answer that later today or tomorrow and get back to you. But go to stewsmithfitness.com. Use the Live15 coupon code. Save yourself 15% if you want to save some money. All right. Also, don't forget I have TikTok and Reels using the Stu Smith 50 on Instagram and TikTok. That's my handle. Tons of CSS critiques over there, and you might pick up something if you're trying to learn the CSS. All right. Until next week, you guys have a good one.